Read these headlines. This album must be gone. This album must be gone. Classic album. Permanent Hip Hop Podcast.
What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast designed to catch you up on all things hip hop music and culture that happen throughout the week. Please know that you can subscribe to this podcast and you can share this podcast because it's available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud.com/hiphoppolitic. And if you mess with TuneIn Radio like I do, TuneIn Radio also. If you can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather. Voice is a little bit scratchy, but I'm still here to do what I do best. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into the proceedings this evening now, or morning, whatever it is. I did a podcast. You know, my last podcast was Nas's top 5 albums. In my opinion, Nas was honored by Revolt TV, so I decided to do a breakdown of what I thought was his top 5. You know what number 1 is. Check that podcast out. But prior to that podcast, I did an episode on the 1995 Source Awards, Source Music Awards. I think that's what it was called. Basically talking about an article from hiphopgoldenage.com. Shout out to them. Where they talked about that award show and the whole Suge Knight Bad Boy versus Death Row incident being the catalyst to where hip hop is today, as far as mainstream hip hop being safe and this R&B rap and really trying to change the face of hip hop as it relates to the mainstream sound. So not long after I do that, another great podcast that I listen to, and you should too, hosted by Noriega of a Capone Noriega fame. It's called Drink Champs, right? You know, they drink and they bring their guests on. Well, Drink Champs is now affiliated with Revolt TV, and Revolt TV is Puffy's baby. You know what I'm saying? Puff Daddy. And guess what came out of that interview? Well, Puff decided to talk about that whole situation in detail from a perspective that some people may not have known. First of all, let me just shout out hiphopdx.com where I'm getting some of these articles. But Puff had this to say, that him and Suge Knight were friends. And I'm putting up air quotes. They were friends, right? And he said Suge would pick him up, you know, from the, I'm not quoting yet, from, you know, the airport and all of that. And damn, phone ringing and everything. This is just one of those days. But, you know, as friends, you know, the whole entire thing of it was, you know, he would pick him up, kind of showing love, east, west, all of that. But he said when Suge said this, basically, you know the quote. If you don't know, go back and listen to the other podcast. You get the whole rundown. But, you know, Suge was basically took a shot at Puffy. That's what we all thought when he spoke on a mic at the Source Awards in 1995. So what some people didn't know, and I had heard about this, but, you know, this is back in the days. There's really no internet. It's really word of mouth that could be true or could be rumor. But Puff had this to say about meeting Suge Knight after that show at an after party, and I quote, "So when I ran up and asked Suge, he said, nah, I was talking about Jermaine Dupri. At that point, I was scared because I know the wolves that was with me. They was like real wolves, and I'm from Harlem. I don't want no violence, no danger, none of that. So I really put it in my head that it gave me reason for my ego to walk away." So Puff Daddy says that when he approached Suge Knight at the Source Awards, 1995 Source Awards after party at the Tunnel in NYC, legendary club, you know what I'm talking, you know what it is. He said that he wasn't really talking about him. He was talking about Jermaine Dupri. And I heard that before. And I thought about it because I'm like, well, yeah, Jermaine Dupri is, and I'm talking about, I heard that back in 95, amongst people. And I was like, yeah, Jermaine Dupri is all in the videos. He is all on the records. But the fact that this was taking place in NYC, and the fact that Puff Daddy was known for being the dude who's all in your videos, all on your records. We know Jermaine Dupri was doing it, but Jermaine was kind of copying Puffy in a way, which wasn't bad, because, I never disliked Puff or Jermaine Dupri being on that records or being on their artist records. It never really got in the way of the music, if you ask me. There were certain records that it worked, and there were other records that they didn't appear on. That was fine. But everybody felt like, man, he was talking to Puff. Clearly he was talking to Puff. Now, why would he cop a plea at a club in NY and not just say, yeah, I was talking about you? Well, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, dudes realize when they don't have home field advantage. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm pretty sure this was before Death Row was really running like 1,000 deep. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure, he had his level of goons there and his artists and stuff like that. So if it went down, it could have went down. But at the same time, I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I believe that Suge Knight would say that, but I don't think it was more so him being approached by Puffy and being afraid. I think it was another situation where he said what he said, should have owned up to it, because we all know he was talking about Puff. There's just no way around it. The Jermaine Dupri line was a damn good excuse, because you can make that argument, because he didn't say no names and they both do the same thing, but we know he was talking about Puff. And it just kind of reeked of a sense of jealousy, basically, when there really didn't need to be any. Because Death Row was doing them. It was hot, and Bad Boy was the hot equivalent for the East Coast. But unfortunately, brothers get in their egos and they start feeling like they ain't better than us, and then bam, there it is. So let's just move on from that, man. Let's keep it peaceful. But check out that podcast. Nori's podcast is called Drink Champs. He has numerous guests, and I guess what adds to it, sometimes they sitting up there and getting drunk. It's a couple of people like the Talib Kweli joint where, dudes is really tossed. But it's unique, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those podcasts. Kanye West was released from the hospital. I'm glad that Kanye West went to the hospital. I'm a little sad that he went there for reasons that I think, look, put it this way. I think Kanye has had a problem. Ever since his mom's passed, Kanye has turned into the rant, eager for attention Kanye. You know what I'm saying? And his music has shown how much more he's gone deep within himself in regards to, like feeling himself and really his own ego. And, because geniuses don't call themselves geniuses. You know why? They're too busy being a genius. That's just not how that goes. People don't do that. You don't consider yourself Steve Jobs didn't look like, I'm a genius. He didn't say stuff like that. And even if he does, whatever. But I feel like geniuses just do what geniuses do. They just keep coming up with different angles and ways and perspectives and things like that. They don't have time to take a selfie of themselves and put it in the Hall of Fame. So it felt like, to me, when Kanye lost his moms, I don't think, and I don't know, but I don't think he ever recovered from that and whatever else happened in his life. And I think, the whole situation, because the thing that's going on also is they're saying he's afraid for his life based off the fact that, his baby moms, Kim Kardashian, got his wife. Let me say that. Let me be a little bit respectful. Based on the fact that she got robbed at gunpoint and all of that. And the thing is that brother Ben needed help. Like these things that happen to him that are bad, they don't help his situation. Sneaker's still selling out the gate, and I think that's probably the most successful sneaker company or sneaker line from a rapper ever, which isn't too hard to do. But the thing is kind of like I think the brother needs help. So and I'm talking about therapeutic help, like long lasting, like step out of the spotlight for a year or maybe even two, then come back with a vengeance. Be that Kanye that we all knew and loved, still personal, still cocky and all of that, but just more focused on what he does and making a name for himself without having to rant in order to make a name for himself. Because people will forget the classic music that he put out, and he will just become the rants and the downward spiral. He'll become everything negative that exists in his career and not everything positive musically that he put out there. But to kind of hit some breaking news, J. Cole has an album coming out. I believe it's next week. I forget the title, but he has like a video where he's kind of, some people say it's a diss record. Some people say he's getting at Kanye, but I think it's more of a disappointment of a fan. One of the things I love about the way J. Cole does what he does is he shows how much of a fan he is by talking about it. You know what I'm saying? By showing that he looks up to these dudes and how invested he is as a fan in their music, their image, and all of that. And he's highly disappointed with Kanye. Now, is the timing good? Not really, because the thing is Kanye has a problem. It's totally different from a dude who's, just ego tripping. Kanye has an issue that needs therapeutic attention. You know what I'm saying? And that's not nothing to play with. Same thing with the whole Kid Cudi situation. Depression is not something to play with. These people are acting the way they're acting because of the way they feel. They need help. You know what I'm saying? But on the hip hop side, it's not a diss record. It's really just like a chin check. It's really something, honestly, that I think Kanye can respect to J. Cole, hear that, and get back on his job. You know what I'm saying? After, healing personally, beyond music. So check for that. It was pretty dope. I like it. Can't wait for J. Cole's album. Sounds like it's in the same lane as the last one, as far as just being that new school rapper who could spit, who could do whatever you need, you know what I'm saying? And I need dudes like him to get this radio play. Wu-Tang Clan's U-God sues the rest of the group for $2.5 million. What is going on? U-God is claiming that he hasn't received his cut from his work on 170 songs across 12 Wu-Tang albums. He also says he has an agreement with the group to receive 2 annual payments from merchandise sales from the group, and cites that $2 million deal for the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin album that he's also due a cut from. Wow. It's crazy. In the court documents, U-God reportedly places most of the blame on RZA and his brother Mitchell Devon Diggs, saying that they have been instrumental in blocking him from fair pay. Damn, everybody says that. Like, when you hear beef and Wu-Tang and it's about the group, it's always RZA and his brother. Get the man his money, right? My feelings about U-God. Probably my least liked rapper in the Wu in the beginning. He slowly started to grow on me. And I think his debut album, I have his debut album. I think it's called Dopium. I don't know if that's his debut or